There is a man in this story who spent 5 years delivering food. Rain, sun, traffic, late nights, he rode his bicycle through all of it. He knocked on doors. He handed over bags. He smiled at people who did not look at his face. He said have a good evening to people who had already closed the door. 5 years of this. And the most expensive restaurant in the city was on his delivery route. He had been inside it exactly once through the back, the way delivery riders always came. He had seen the marble floors and the gold light fixtures and the waitstaff in their pressed uniforms. He had smelled the food. He had heard the kitchen noise, the controlled chaos of a serious professional kitchen. And the head chef had seen him standing there and had said something. Something that was meant to put him in his place. Something that was meant to remind him of the distance between where he was standing and where the chef was standing. The chef did not know, could not have known, what was in the rider's delivery bag that evening. Not food. A letter. A legal letter from a firm of solicitors confirming the transfer of ownership of the restaurant. Of this restaurant. Of the marble floors and the gold fixtures and the professional kitchen that the chef ran like a small kingdom. The rider had not been delivering food that evening. He had been coming to collect what was his. Now, before we get to that night, before we get to what happened when the chef's face changed and the room went quiet, and a young man in a rain-soaked jacket stood in the middle of a luxury restaurant and told the most famous chef in the city that he was the new owner, you need to understand everything that came before it. You need to understand a grandfather who built something magnificent and spent the last decade of his life watching it be stolen from him. You need to understand a boy who grew up without his parents and was raised by a quiet man who taught him that character was built in the shadows. You need to understand 5 years of delivering food to the same addresses, in the same weather, to the same people who never learned his name. And you need to understand a love story, because there is one, and it is the part that makes everything else make sense. Stay right here. This is going to be worth every second. Like this video right now if you believe that the person you underestimate is always the one you should have paid attention to. Subscribe to Tribal Tales Hub. We are here every week with a new story. Hit that bell. Never miss one. Comment below, have you ever been treated differently because of your job or what you were wearing? Tell us. His name was Leopold Steiner. Everyone called him Papa Leo, not the delivery rider, his grandfather. The grandfather was Papa Leo. It is important to establish this early because the two of them, separated by 60 years, shared more than the name. They shared the hands. The specific way their hands moved when they were working, precise, unhurried, with the certainty of someone who has done a thing long enough that doing it has become a form of thinking. And they shared the particular quality of someone who did not need to fill every silence with words. Papa Leo, the grandfather, Leopold Karl Steiner Sr., was born in 1940 in Enugu, Nigeria, to a German father and an Igbo mother whose combination had produced, in Leopold, a man who looked like neither culture exactly and felt entirely at home in both. His father had come to Nigeria in the 1930s as a craftsman and had stayed because of the woman he met, which was a story that Papa Leo told with the specific shortness of someone who considered it both obvious and private. The cooking came from his mother. Her name was Mama Agnes. She was from Oji River, and she cooked with the specific authority of a woman who understood that food was not sustenance in the simple sense. It was the language in which love and occasion and memory were expressed. She cooked for the whole compound, not just the family. She cooked for weddings and burials and celebrations and the ordinary Tuesday afternoons that needed no occasion. She had a spice combination that people came from 3 streets away to ask about, and that she never fully wrote down because, she said, a recipe that was only in your hands was a recipe that could not be stolen. Papa Leo spent his childhood at her elbow. He went to secondary school in Enugu, and was a decent student in everything and an exceptional one in the subjects that required the specific combination of precision and creativity, chemistry, which gave him the language for what happened when you combine things. Drawing, which gave him the spatial understanding that later translated into the architecture of a plate. He was not told he was going to be a chef. Nobody in his environment had a word for professional chef as a career. It was not a category that his teachers or his neighbors or his family thought of as an endpoint. He went to Lagos at 19. Lagos in the late 1950s was a city in transition, approaching independence, full of the energy of a place that understood that something was ending and something else was beginning, and that the people who positioned themselves correctly in the transition would be the people who thrived in whatever came next. Papa Leo did not position himself for any political or financial transition. He went to Lagos because a cousin had a job at a hotel and the hotel had a kitchen, and the kitchen needed hands. He started as a kitchen assistant. What he did in that kitchen over the first 3 years was watch. Not the cooking exactly, though he watched that too. He watched the system, the way a professional kitchen worked when it was working properly, the hierarchy of it, the timing, the relationship between the different stations, the way a head chef kept order in a room full of pressure and heat and sharp things and deadlines that could not be moved. He understood it in the way of someone whose mother had cooked for compound gatherings and whose chemistry class had given him the formal language for what food was doing at a molecular level. He could see both dimensions simultaneously, the practical and the underlying. He started cooking seriously in 1962. Not in the hotel in his own time, in the small room he shared with 2 other young men, on a single kerosene burner with ingredients he bought carefully and specifically. He was developing dishes, not traditional dishes that everyone knew and not European dishes that required equipment he did not have. Something in between, something that used the techniques he was learning in the hotel kitchen and the ingredients and flavor combinations that his mother had taught him. The dishes were extraordinary. He knew they were extraordinary before anyone else told him, not from arrogance, from the specific certainty of someone who understands their work. He had the palate of his mother and the technique of the hotel kitchen, and the combination produced something that had not existed before. He started cooking for people. Small dinners first, friends, colleagues, the cousin who had brought him to Lagos, then the friends of friends, then an event at a church, then a wedding. By 1967, he had a small catering operation. By 1972, he had a restaurant. Not the luxury restaurant that came later. The first restaurant was in a building in Lagos Island that had been a fabric shop and that he had converted with his own hands and 2 carpenters who became permanent fixtures of the establishment. It had 12 tables. The menu had 8 items, which he changed weekly depending on what was available and what he was thinking about. It was always full. Not because he was famous, because the food was the kind of food that people talked about, the kind that required explanation when you described it to someone who had not eaten it, the kind that the person who ate it thought about on the drive home and called the person they had eaten it with to say, "Were you thinking about that meal?" He married in 1975. Her name was Adiz from Onitsha, a woman who had studied pharmacy and who had the specific warmth of someone whose intelligence expressed itself primarily through attentiveness to other people. She was the one who talked when he was quiet, which was often. She was the one who managed the restaurant's finances, which she did with the precision her pharmaceutical training had given her for doozing. She was the one who named their daughter. Their daughter, Kioma, was born in 1977. Papa Leo's restaurant expanded in the 1980s. Not the original one that remained exactly as it was, 12 tables, 8 items on the weekly menu, full every evening. He opened a second one in Victoria Island, larger, more formal, the beginning of what would become the Steiner Restaurant Group, which was not actually called that for several years, but which was what everyone called it informally because Papa Leo had become, in the Lagos food world, a name. The fame came slowly and then quickly. the way fame works when it is built on something real. In 1985, a food writer from a London publication who was in Lagos for other reasons ate at the Victoria Island restaurant and wrote about it in a piece that was read by the right people. The right people talked to other right people. International food industry attention arrived, which was the specific kind of attention that Lagos restaurants in the 1980s almost never received. He was 55 when the main restaurant, the one that everyone in the city knew, the one on the top floor of the Lekki building with the marble floors and the gold light fixtures and the view of the Lagos Lagoon, he was 55 when it opened. He spent 20 years building it into the finest restaurant in the country. He also spent those 20 years working alongside a young chef whose talent was, Papa Leo said to Adiz privately, the most raw and significant he had seen since he watched his mother move a pot. His name was Marco Rossi. He had come to the restaurant at 23, fresh from a European culinary training, with technique that was clean and a palate that was genuinely sophisticated, and an ambition that Papa Leo could see clearly because he had seen ambition in kitchens before and knew what it looked like. He taught Marco everything he knew. Not only the recipes, the philosophy, the understanding that food was language, the specific respect for ingredients that came from knowing where they came from, the relationship with the people who grew and sold and prepared the raw materials, the kitchen culture of a place where the staff were valued. He taught him all of it. He thought, in teaching it, that he was creating a legacy, a person who would carry what he had built forward in the spirit it had been built. He was wrong about this, but he did not find out how wrong until it was too late. Adiz died in 2001. Papa Leo was 61. Their daughter Kioma had married in 1998, a good man, a Lagos engineer named Emeka Nwasu, and they lived in Abuja. The restaurant continued. The kitchen continued. Papa Leo continued with the specific determination of someone who understands that continuing is what you do. But something changed after Adiz. He became less visible in the restaurant. Not absent, he was there every day but quieter, more in the background, more in the kitchen than in the front of the house. He began handing more and more of the operational authority to Marco, who was 38 by then and who had over 15 years built a reputation in the Lagos food world that was second only to Papa Leo's own. He trusted Marco. He trusted Marco specifically because Marco had spent 15 years at his side and had learned everything he knew and had applied it with a skill that Papa Leo genuinely respected. He trusted Marco too much. What he did not see, or what he saw and did not want to believe, was that as his authority diminished, Marco's behavior changed. Not the cooking. The cooking remained excellent. The relationship with the kitchen staff changed. The warmth that Papa Leo had built into the culture of the kitchen, the specific quality of a place where the preparation was respected as much as the result, that warmth began to go. Marco was not warm. Not when Papa Leo was not in the room. Kioma and Emeka had a son in 2005. They named him Leopold. Leo. Papa Leo held his grandson for the first time in the Abuja hospital and looked at the small face and said nothing for a long time. Then he said to Kioma, "His hands are going to be good." "Papa," Kioma said. She was tired and had just given birth and she was smiling. "He is 3 hours old." "I can see the hands," Papa Leo said. "He has your grandmother's hands." He was right. Leo, Leopold Emeka Nwasu, who would be known as Leo and who would eventually, for professional reasons related to the restaurant, begin using his great-grandfather's original surname, grew up partly in Abuja and partly in Lagos. His parents were in Abuja for his early years but returned to Lagos when Leo was 8, because Emeka's engineering firm had a Lagos opportunity that was significant. He grew up, therefore, within reach of Papa Leo. And Papa Leo had very specific ideas about what a grandchild in reach should do. He brought Leo to the restaurant when Leo was 9, not to show it off, to work. At 9, working in a professional kitchen meant specific things: washing vegetables, carrying things, watching. The watching was the main thing. Papa Leo wanted Leo to watch the way he had watched his own mother, with the complete absorbed attention that is the foundation of genuine learning. Leo watched. He also, at 10, began cooking with his grandfather in the small kitchen of Papa Leo's personal apartment, where the cooking was completely different from the restaurant, simpler, more direct. The food of a man who cooked for pleasure rather than for presentation. They cooked together every Saturday morning. For 6 years. Kioma died in 2016, a kidney disease that had been diagnosed 2 years earlier and had progressed faster than the doctors expected. She was 39. Emeka was devastated in the complete way of a man whose life had been organized around one person and who had not prepared, could not have prepared for their absence. Leo was 11. Papa Leo moved to Lagos full-time to help Emeka raise Leo. He was 76. He was slowing down in the ways of age, but the kitchen was still his, and on Saturday mornings, Leo still came and they still cooked. "Papa," Leo said once when he was 13, "you never talk about the restaurant anymore." "I talk about the cooking," Papa Leo said. "Not the restaurant," Leo said. Papa Leo was quiet. "The restaurant has its own life now," he said. "Is that good?" Leo said. "It depends on what kind of life it has," Papa Leo said. He said nothing more about it. But he was watching. And he had been watching long enough to understand what he saw. Stay right here, because what Papa Leo decided to do about what he saw is the whole point. Leo left school in 2023. He was 18. He had passed his examinations decently, not spectacularly, the way people pass examinations when their mind is on something other than the syllabus. His mind had been on the cooking. More specifically, his mind had been on the gap between the cooking he did with his grandfather and the cooking he saw described in the food world that increasingly was the world his grandfather's restaurant occupied. He had applied to culinary school. Not in Nigeria, in Paris. One of the schools whose name in the culinary world meant something specific. He had applied with a portfolio of dishes he had developed over 2 years, documented with photographs and detailed descriptions of the process, accompanied by a letter that his grandfather had read before he sent it. Papa Leo had read the letter and said, "Change one paragraph." "Which one?" Leo said. "The one where you explain why you want to be a chef," Papa Leo said. "You wrote about the food, rewrite it about the people." "The people," Leo said. "Food is for people," Papa Leo said. "A chef who writes about food is interesting. A chef who writes about people is compelling." Leo rewrote the paragraph. He was accepted. He was also simultaneously broke. Not broke in the way of someone who had been poor their whole life. Emeka's engineering career had provided a comfortable life, not wealthy but stable. But the Paris Culinary School fees were a different category of number, and Emeka's savings, after Kioma's illness and the medical expenses of the final 2 years, were not in a position to absorb a European education. Papa Leo offered. Leo said no. This was a conversation they had in the Saturday morning kitchen, over food that was getting cold, because neither of them was eating. "You saved this money for yourself," Leo said. "I saved it for the things that mattered," Papa Leo said. "You are a thing that matters." "Let me try to earn some of it first," Leo said. Papa Leo looked at him. "How?" he said. "Delivery," Leo said. "There are services that pay reasonably. I can do it while I prepare for school. Save, work, go in a year or 2. Papa Leo looked at his grandson. "A year or 2 is a long time at 18, he said. "It is also a long time to watch what you are watching," Leo said. Papa Leo was very still. "What do you mean?" he said. "I mean the restaurant," Leo said. I have been watching you watch the restaurant for 3 years. Something is wrong there. I think you should tell me what it is." A long silence. Papa Leo put down the spoon he was holding. He told Leo, not everything at once, over 3 conversations across 3 Saturdays. He told him about Marco, about the recipes, about what Papa Leo had built in that kitchen over 30 years and what he had watched happen to the culture of it, quietly, consistently, in the specific way of something being emptied while still appearing full. He told Leo about a ledger. The ledger was a thin notebook, old, the spine repaired twice with tape, the pages dense with Papa Leo's handwriting. It contained the original recipe development notes for every dish that had made the restaurant what it was, not the final recipes, the process. The failed attempts, the adjustments, the specific moment when something worked, and the notation of why. It was, in the language of intellectual property law, the clear evidence of authorship. Marco had been presenting these recipes publicly as his own for 6 years. Not all of them. The more recent developments were genuinely Marco's, but the foundation, the dishes that had made the restaurant's reputation, the ones that the international food press had written about, the ones that were on the menu as the signature items, those were Papa Leo's. Leo listened to all of this. "What do you want to do?" he said. Papa Leo was quiet. "I want to know who he is when he thinks I am not watching," Papa Leo said. "Not what he cooks, who he is, because what I decide to do with the restaurant depends on who he has become." "And how will you find out?" Leo said. Papa Leo looked at him. "You will deliver to the restaurant," he said, "through the delivery services. You will do it for several months. You will see how they treat the delivery riders. That will tell me what I need to know about the kitchen culture." Leo looked at his grandfather. "You want me to be your spy," he said. "I want you to be yourself," Papa Leo said. "A young man who needs to earn money, who happens to deliver food, and who pays attention." Leo was quiet. "And then," he said. "And then I will decide," Papa Leo said. He delivered. For 18 months, Leo rode the delivery circuit that included the main restaurant. He saw what he needed to see. He watched Marco from the small window into the kitchen that was visible from the delivery entrance. He talked to the other staff, the waitstaff, the kitchen assistants, the person who managed the cleaning. He listened. And he fell in love. Her name was Sarah Adami. She was 22. She worked at the restaurant as a front-of-house supervisor, the person who managed the flow of the dining room, the reservations, the interface between the kitchen and the customers. She had been doing this for 2 years and had been exceptional at it, which Marco acknowledged by keeping her in the role and by occasionally being unkind about the way she had gotten the job, which had been through a family connection that Marco found convenient to mention when he wanted to diminish her. Leo had seen her first at the delivery entrance. She was the one who came to receive deliveries when the kitchen was busy, because the kitchen assistant whose job it was had been reassigned and nobody had reorganized the process properly. She received the delivery with a directness that surprised him, not rude, just efficient. She signed the receipt. She said thank you. She was the first person at that address who had said thank you to him in 8 months of delivering. He mentioned this to her the second time. She looked at him. "I say thank you to everyone," she said. "It costs nothing." "To most people on this route it apparently costs something," he said. She looked at him again. "You are not from around here," she said, not accusingly, with the specific attention of someone who was filing information. "I am from all around here," he said. "I deliver to everywhere." She gave him a half smile. "What is your name?" she said. He told her. "I am Sarah," she said. She went inside. He delivered to the same address again the following week. She was there again. "Leo," she said, remembering. People who dealt with delivery riders as a daily function of their work rarely remembered names. He noted this. Sarah, he said. She signed the receipt. She was about to go inside. The head chef, Leo said. He is always like that. She turned. Like what? She said. Loud, Leo said. I could hear him from here. She looked at him for a moment. He has a specific management style, she said. Is that what it is? He said. Something moved across her face. Not agreement. The expression of someone who agrees but has decided not to say so. Goodbye, Leo, she said. See you next week, he said. He saw her next week. And the week after. The conversation between them developed the way conversations develop, when two people are both intelligent and both restrained by the context they are in carefully, in increments, with the specific patience of people who are interested in each other, but who are not going to be careless about it. He found out she had studied hospitality management, that she was the youngest of 4 children and the only one who had not gone into her father's pharmaceutical business, which her father had accepted with the specific resigned pride of someone who wanted different and was getting the correct thing instead, that she had been working at the restaurant for 2 years because she wanted to understand the high-end end of hospitality before opening her own place. Your own place, he said. A cafe, she said. Nothing grand, but mine. Something I run exactly the way I think it should be run. Which way is that? He said. Like the people who work there matter, she said. Like the customer is important but not the only important thing. He looked at her. That is a specific vision, he said. It is the only vision, she said. Have you seen how the staff here are treated? She said it with the directness of someone who had decided the delivery rider could be trusted with the honest answer. I have seen enough, he said. Then you understand, she said. He delivered to the restaurant for another year. He also, during that year, spent time with Sarah outside the delivery context. Not at the restaurant, at a cafe 3 streets away where she went on her afternoon break on the days when she had a break. He began showing up at the cafe on those days. It was not entirely accidental. He had worked out her schedule from the delivery pattern. She figured this out on the 3rd occasion. She said, "You know my break schedule." "I have a good memory for routes," he said. She looked at him. "Delivery riders do not have routes that include this cafe," she said. "No," he said. A long pause. "Order something," she said. "You are making the owner nervous by sitting there with just water." He ordered. They had coffee. It was the first time they had talked in a context that was not the delivery entrance. Without the professional frame, they were both slightly different, more themselves, more direct about it. "You are not just a delivery rider," she said. "I am exactly a delivery rider," he said. "You are also something else," she said. "What makes you think that?" he said. "Because when you talk about food," she said, "you talk about it the way a person who has cooked seriously talks about it, not like someone who delivers it." He was quiet. "My grandfather cooks," he said. "Your grandfather cooks," she repeated. "And what do you do?" "I learn," he said, "and I watch, and I deliver for now." She looked at him. "For now," she said. "Yes," he said. She finished her coffee. "I have to go back," she said. "Of course," he said. She stood up. "Leo," she said. "Yes," he said. "My break is the same time on Thursdays," she said, "in case your route brings you past here." She walked back to the restaurant. He sat with his coffee for another 5 minutes and thought about Thursday. The months are passing. Papa Leo is making his decision, and the night is coming. Papa Leo made his decision in the autumn. It had taken him 3 years to get to the decision, 3 years of observation, of what Leo had reported, of what he had seen himself on the occasional visits he still made to the restaurant in the capacity of the founder whose presence was acknowledged and whose opinion was no longer sought. He had seen the kitchen. He had seen the staff. He had seen enough. He was 83 years old. He was not ill, not seriously, not in the way of someone who was in immediate decline. But 83 was 83, and he understood with the clear-eyed practicality of his mother's people and his father's people that the decisions that needed to be made before things became urgent needed to be made now, not later. He called his lawyer. His lawyer's name was Mr. Chuck Emeka Obi, Emeka to everyone, not to be confused with Leo's father, whose name was also Emeka, which caused occasional complications in conversations involving both of them. The lawyer had handled Papa Leo's affairs for 22 years and was the kind of person whose value lay entirely in his precision and his discretion. He charged what he charged, and he did exactly what he was engaged to do, and he never did more or less than that. Papa Leo told him what he wanted to do. Emeka Obi listened. "You want to leave the restaurant to Leo," he said. "Yes," Papa Leo said. "The full ownership," he said. "The full ownership," Papa Leo said, "including the intellectual property, the recipes, the method documentation, everything in the ledger." "Marco currently has operational authority," Emeka Obi said. "I know," Papa Leo said, "that will change." "He will challenge this," Emeka Obi said. "He can challenge it," Papa Leo said. "The documentation is clear. The ledger has been notarized. Everything is dated. His claim that the signature dishes are his development is not supportable against the evidence of the process documentation." Emeka Obi looked at the ledger that Papa Leo had placed on his desk. He opened it. He spent 15 minutes reading. He closed it. "He cannot challenge this in good faith," he said. "This is clear authorship documentation. Recipes, dates, adjustments, the specific evolution of each dish." "Yes," Papa Leo said. "When do you want to do this?" Emeka Obi said. "Write the will now," Papa Leo said. "The transfer of operational ownership happens when I decide it happens. I will tell you when." "And the condition," Emeka Obi said. He had learned over 22 years that Papa Leo never did a simple transaction. "Leo does not know about the restaurant," Papa Leo said. "He will find out on the evening I choose. He will not know before. He is going to deliver to the restaurant that evening as he has been doing, and he will carry the transfer documentation in his bag, and he will walk in the way he always walks in through the delivery entrance in his uniform with his bag." Emeka Obi looked at him. "You want him to arrive as a delivery rider," he said. "I want Marco to see him the way Marco sees delivery riders," Papa Leo said. "I want Leo to see that too, so that when he owns the restaurant, he remembers exactly where he was standing and how it felt and what was said to him." "And the documentation," Emeka Obi said. "Will be in his bag," Papa Leo said. "Along with the letter I am going to write him, a personal letter, not legal, just what I want him to know. And you will send a notification to the restaurant management email," Emeka Obi said. "The transfer of ownership." 10 minutes before he arrives," Papa Leo said. "Not before." Emeka Obi was quiet for a moment. "That is a very specific plan," he said. "I have been thinking about it for 3 years," Papa Leo said. The will was finalized in November. Leo did not know. He continued delivering. He had been doing it for 20 months by this point. He had saved a significant portion, not the full Paris school fee, but a portion that showed serious commitment. Papa Leo had observed the saving without commenting on it. He had also, during those 20 months, continued with Sarah. The Thursday cafe meetings had extended. He had told her more, not everything, but more. He had told her his grandfather was in the Lagos restaurant world. He had not told her which grandfather or which restaurant. She had not pressed, which he appreciated. She had told him more too, about the cafe she was planning, about the specific design she had in her head, the color of it, the menu, the way the staff would be scheduled and compensated. She had detailed plans that she refined in the cafe on Thursday afternoons while Leo asked questions that moved the plan forward in the specific way of someone who understood business structure. "You ask very practical questions," she said once. "I grew up watching practical people," he said. "Your grandfather," she said. "Yes," he said. "I would like to meet him," she said. "You will," he said. "Is that a promise?" she said. "It is a certainty," he said. She looked at him. "What does that mean?" she said. "It means the situation is going to become clearer soon," he said. "And when it does, I want you to know what I am before you know what I have." She was very still for a moment. "What you have," she said. He looked at her. "Soon," he said. "I will explain everything soon." She looked at him for a long moment. "I already know what you are," she said. "You are the person who says thank you when I sign the receipt. You are the person who asked me if the head chef was always like that. You are the person who appears at this cafe on Thursdays as if by coincidence and asks better questions about my business plan than my hospitality school professors did." He was quiet. "That is enough," she said, "for now." Papa Leo's personal letter to Leo was written on a Thursday evening. 3 pages, longhand. The handwriting of a man whose hands had been making things with precision for 80 years and whose writing carried the same quality as his cooking, deliberate, specific, unhurried. He gave it to Leo the following Saturday morning. Not the morning of the delivery, 2 Saturdays before. "Read it later," he said. "When?" Leo said. "When the time is right," Papa Leo said. "You will know when." Leo put the letter in the inside pocket of his delivery jacket. He wore the jacket every day. He moved it from the jacket to wherever he kept it. He did not read it. He was waiting. He was waiting because he had understood from knowing his grandfather for 23 years that the time is right was not a vague instruction. It was a specific one, and the specific moment would be recognizable when it arrived. The evening of the delivery was a Wednesday in December. It was raining, not lightly, the specific Lagos heavy rain that arrived without warning and within 5 minutes turned the roads into something that required navigation rather than driving. Leo was on his bicycle. He had been doing the Wednesday evening route for 8 months, and the restaurant was always the last stop of the evening, which meant he arrived there in whatever condition the evening's weather had produced. The rain was serious. He arrived at the restaurant soaking. He went to the delivery entrance. He knocked. The kitchen assistant who usually received deliveries was not there. The door was answered by a junior cook who told him to wait and close the door. He waited in the rain. After 4 minutes, the door opened again. Marco was standing in it. What happens in the next few minutes is the part that everything has been leading to. Subscribe to Tribal Tales Hub. The confrontation is happening right now. Stay here. Marco Rossi was 56 years old. He was in his element in that doorway. He was in his kitchen, in his restaurant, in the position he had occupied with increasing authority and decreasing accountability for the past decade. He was wearing his chef's whites with the Steiner restaurant emblem on the chest. His hair was gray at the temples in the way that photographs well and that he was aware of. He looked at Leo. He looked at the bicycle. He looked at the rain dripping from Leo's jacket. He looked at the white marble floor of the delivery corridor, which was a less expensive marble than the dining room floor, but was still properly maintained. "You are making my floor wet," he said. "I am here for the pickup," Leo said. Marco looked at the delivery bag. "Use the back service corridor," he said. "You are not supposed to come to this entrance." "The service corridor door is locked," Leo said. "The latch is broken. I reported it last week." "Then wait outside until someone opens it," Marco said. "It has been raining for 20 minutes, Leo said. "I see that," Marco said. He looked at Leo's jacket. "You look like something that came in from the gutter." Leo looked at him. He said nothing. "Do you know what this restaurant is?" Marco said. He was not asking for information. He was making a statement with a question structure. "This is the finest restaurant in this city. People who come here pay for an experience. Part of that experience is that everything in and around this place has a standard. You, standing there in that," he gestured at Leo's soaked jacket, "are not a standard I maintain." "I am here for a pickup," Leo said again. "And you will wait in the rain for that pickup," Marco said. "Because people like you," he looked Leo up and down with the specific assessment of someone who has divided the world clearly and knows which category this person belongs to, "do not come into my building. You deliver things and you leave. That is your function." He was about to close the door. "Wait," Leo said. Marco stopped. "I am not here for the pickup only," Leo said. Marco looked at him. "I have a meeting," Leo said, "with the manager." Marco's expression changed slightly, not recognition, just the processing of a sentence that did not fit the category. "I am the manager," Marco said, "and we have no meeting." "Check your email," Leo said, "in the last 10 minutes. Marco looked at him. Then he took his phone from his pocket. The email had been sent by Emeka Obi's office 12 minutes before Leo's arrival. It was titled, "Transfer of Ownership, Steiner Restaurant." Marco read it. He read it again. His face went through a sequence of expressions that was not subtle. The confidence first, the confusion, then the specific expression of someone who is receiving information that reorganizes everything they understood about a situation. He looked up from the phone. He looked at Leo. He looked at the soaking delivery jacket. He looked at the bag. "This is a fraud," he said. His voice had changed. The authority was still there, but something underneath it was not. "It is a legal transfer document," Leo said, "filed with the relevant bodies today. The original will is with the probate registry. My grandfather's lawyer can provide everything you need to verify it." "Your grandfather," Marco said. "Leopold Karl Steiner Sr., Leo said. A very long silence. "Papa Leo," Marco said. The name came out differently from the way he said anything else, with the specific quality of a word that has a weight of time in it. "Yes," Leo said. "He sent you," Marco said, "in that jacket on that bicycle." "He did not send me to arrive in the rain," Leo said. "That was the weather's decision." Marco looked at the phone again, then at Leo. "Come in," he said. The two words came out stiffly, like words being said against the resistance of their speaker. Leo came in. He stood in the delivery corridor, still dripping. Marco looked at the drips on the marble. He did not say anything about the marble. "I need to make calls," Marco said. "You cannot." "I need to see the dining room," Leo said. "You cannot go into the dining room in those clothes," Marco said. "This is my restaurant," Leo said, quietly, not dramatically, the way you say a true thing. He walked toward the dining room. Marco stood in the corridor. He did not stop him. Leo walked through the kitchen pass. The kitchen staff looked up. They saw the delivery rider they had seen at the back entrance for 20 months. They also saw that he had come through the kitchen pass, which delivery riders did not do. And they saw, without fully understanding what they were seeing, that Marco was standing behind him and was not stopping him. Sarah was in the dining room. She was at the service station near the window, checking the evening's reservation list for the second seating. She heard the kitchen pass door and turned. She saw Leo. She saw the jacket. She saw that he was in the dining room, which was not where he was supposed to be. She crossed the room toward him. "Leo," she said, quietly, professional concern in her voice, "you cannot be in here dressed." "Sarah," he said. She stopped. She looked at his face. He had the expression she had been trying to understand for 8 months. Not sad, not anxious, not performing anything, just completely present. "I need to tell you something," he said. Now, she said, the dining room had 4 tables occupied. The other staff were watching. Not now, he said, but tonight can you stay late? She looked at him. What is happening? She said. The restaurant, he said, the ownership of it, it has changed today. She was very still. Changed to who? She said. He looked at her. She understood. She looked at the jacket, at the bag, at the delivery rider she had been meeting at a cafe for 8 months. Leo, she said. Yes, he said. Your grandfather, she said. Yes, he said. She was quiet for a moment. The cafe, she said, you knew. I knew about this restaurant, he said. I did not know if it was going to become mine or not. That decision was my grandfather's, and I did not know when he was going to make it or what it would look like when he did. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at Marco, who had followed Leo into the dining room and was standing at the kitchen pass, looking at the scene with the expression of a man who is watching a situation he cannot control. She turned back to Leo. The waitress he yelled at last week, she said. Tell me, Leo said. Her name is Ada, she said. She has been here for 3 years. She is very good. He yelled at her in front of the whole kitchen for dropping a spoon. Ada, Leo said. Yes, Sarah said. He walked to Marco. Marco was standing by the kitchen pass. He had been making calls or trying to. His lawyers had confirmed what he did not want confirmed. The transfer was legitimate. The will was legitimate. The ownership was real. He looked at Leo. We should discuss this privately, Marco said. We will discuss it privately, Leo said, but first. He turned to the dining room. The staff were watching. The 4 occupied tables were watching, with the specific polite attention of people who understand something significant is happening and who are trying to observe without appearing to observe. Which one is Ada? Leo said to Sarah. Sarah indicated. Ada was at the far end of the room, near the window. 25, with the specific still quality of someone who had learned over 3 years to make herself unobtrusive. Leo walked to her. She looked at him with the wariness of someone who had learned to be wary of unexpected attention in this room. Ada, he said. Yes, sir, she said. The sir came automatically. Your evaluation begins today, he said. You are being assessed for the floor management position. She stared at him. Who are you? She said. I am the new owner, he said. My name is Leo Steiner. You can ask Mr. Rossi to confirm if you like. He walked back to Marco. The dining room was very quiet. The kitchen, Leo said. I need to see it. Now, Marco said. Now, Leo said. He went into the kitchen. He walked through it slowly. He looked at everything. The equipment, the organization of the stations, the people at each station who were in the middle of the evening service and who were watching him while trying to continue the service. He picked up a spoon from one of the stations. He tasted the sauce in the pot. He was quiet for a moment. He put the spoon down. This is my grandfather's base recipe, he said. The spice balance is slightly off, more palm oil than the original. The result is that the back note disappears. The junior cook at the station looked at him. Papa Leo's recipe, the junior cook said, quietly, like someone confirming something they had always believed. Yes, Leo said. He walked out of the kitchen. He went to the small manager's office, a room off the main corridor where the operational management of the restaurant happened. Marco followed him. Leo sat down behind the desk. He opened his delivery bag. He took out 2 things. The first was the ledger, Papa Leo's recipe development notebook, the one that had been with the lawyer for 3 months and that had been returned to Leo that morning, when Emeka Obi met him at a cafe before his delivery shift. The second was the letter. He opened the letter. He read it, there in the office while Marco watched. He read it slowly. It was 3 pages long. It told him things he already knew and things he did not know. It told him about Adiz and how she had managed the restaurant's finances and how her death had changed the atmosphere of the place. It told him about Marco, about the early years, the 15 years of genuine mentorship, the moment Papa Leo had begun to understand that something had shifted. It told him about the recipes, what each one represented, where each one had come from, which dish was Mama Agnes, and which was a Tuesday experiment in the Lagos Island restaurant kitchen, and which was the one that he and Leo had made together on a Saturday morning when Leo was 11 years old, and had added something by accident that turned out to be exactly right. There was a final paragraph. It said, "I have watched you deliver food to people who did not look at your face. I have watched you keep your head up. The restaurant is yours because you are the only person I trust to run it the way it should be run, not the way it is being run, but the way it was built. Start with the kitchen. The kitchen is where everything begins. If the kitchen is right, everything else follows. Your grandmother understood this. Your great-grandmother understood it before her. Now it is yours to understand." Leo folded the letter. He looked at Marco. "Sit down," Leo said. Marco sat. "You have 20 years of my grandfather's training," Leo said. "You have technique that I respect. You have knowledge of this kitchen that I do not yet have. These things are real." Marco was quiet. "You have also," Leo said, "spent the last decade treating the people who work here as obstacles to your standard rather than as the people who make the standard possible. You have been presenting recipes in public that are not yours, and you have, consistently, over many months, as I have personally observed from the delivery entrance, been making this a place where people come to work with fear rather than with pride." Marco said nothing. "You have one decision to make," Leo said. "You can stay, as head chef, not as manager, as a chef, working in the kitchen, making the food, under the terms I will set, which include how the kitchen culture operates. If you can do that, if you can cook in a kitchen where the staff are respected and where the recipes are credited correctly, you can stay." Marco looked at him. "Or," he said. "Or you leave," Leo said. "The choice is yours. I am not going to humiliate you and I am not going to celebrate your departure if you go, but I need the answer tonight." Marco looked at the ledger on the desk. He looked at it for a long time. "He kept everything," Marco said. "He kept everything," Leo said. "He kept it because he hoped he would not need to use it. He wanted to believe you would come back to what he taught you." "And did he?" Marco said. "He hoped," Leo said. Marco was quiet. "The dishes," he said, "the ones in the ledger, I told myself they had become mine through development, through the years of working on them." "They had not," Leo said. "No," Marco said, "they had not." A very long silence. "I need 2 days," Marco said. "You have tonight," Leo said. Marco looked at him. He stood. He went to the door. He stopped. "The sauce in the kitchen," he said. "You were right about the palm oil. It was a change I made 3 years ago. I thought it improved the mouthfeel." "It does improve the mouthfeel," Leo said. "It loses the back note. It is a trade." "Papa Leo would not make that trade," Marco said. "No," Leo said. Marco left. Leo sat in the office alone for a moment. He put his hand on the ledger. He thought about Saturday mornings. He thought about the smell of a kitchen that was cooking for love rather than for reputation. He thought about a letter written by a man who was 83 years old and who had built something real and wanted it carried forward by someone who understood what real meant. He picked up his phone. He called his grandfather. Papa Leo answered on the second ring. "It is done," Leo said. Papa Leo was quiet for a moment. "How was the floor?" he said. "Marble," Leo said. "Italian as described." "And Marco?" Papa Leo said. "He has until tonight," Leo said. Good, Papa Leo said. He said something, Leo said. He said you kept everything. I kept everything, Papa Leo said. He was surprised, Leo said. I know, Papa Leo said. He thought the keeping was forgiveness. It was documentation. Leo was quiet. Papa, he said. Yes, Papa Leo said. The letter, Leo said. You read it, Papa Leo said. Yes, Leo said. Good, Papa Leo said. The Saturday morning kitchen, Leo said. All of it was this. All of it was this, Papa Leo said. A long pause. Go back to the dining room, Papa Leo said. The service is still running. Don't let the ownership distract you from the evening. Leo smiled. Yes, Papa, he said. He went back to the dining room. Marco made his decision by 9:30 that evening. He came to the office where Leo was reviewing the restaurant's recent accounts, months of financial information that he had not had access to before, and that were telling him things about the operation that required understanding before any decisions were made. Marco knocked on the open door. Leo looked up. I will stay, Marco said, as chef under your terms. Leo looked at him. I need you to understand what the terms mean, Leo said, not the words of them, the meaning. Tell me, Marco said. The kitchen staff, Leo said, every one of them. I will know their names and their situations and their ambitions by the end of the first month. They will know I know. The yelling, the specific culture of fear that you built in there, that ends tonight. The cooking is still yours. The quality standards are still yours. The treatment of the people is mine. Marco looked at him. And the recipes, he said. The attribution will be corrected, Leo said. In the menu, in any public communication, the dishes that are genuinely yours will be credited to you. The dishes from the ledger will be credited to my grandfather. People will ask questions, Marco said. Let them ask, Leo said. Marco was quiet. He taught me to cook, Marco said. Genuinely, what I can do in that kitchen, the technique of it, that is from him. I know, Leo said. I should have, Marco started. Yes, Leo said. A silence. The sauce tomorrow, Leo said. The palm oil, try it without and see what you think. Marco looked at him. You want me to fix it, he said. I want you to decide if it needs fixing, Leo said. You are the chef. The decision is yours. Marco left. Leo sat in the office until 11. Sarah knocked at 10:45. The dining room was closed. The service had finished. The staff were doing the closing routines. She had waited. She came in and sat in the chair across the desk. The chair that had been Marco's chair that evening, and before that had been Papa Leo's chair, and before that had belonged to whoever had managed things in this room in the 30 years the restaurant had existed. She looked at him. He looked at her. The cafe, she said. Tell me about the cafe, he said. She looked at him. You own a restaurant, she said, a luxury restaurant. I own my grandfather's restaurant, he said, which I need to learn how to run properly, which is going to take time and which is going to be the most intensive education I have ever had. And the cafe, she said. Tell me, he said. She looked at him for a moment. Why, she said. Because it is what you are building, he said, and what you are building matters, and I want to understand it completely before anything else. She sat with this for a moment. Then she told him, the full version, not the Thursday afternoon version which had been good. The full version, the specific neighborhood she had chosen, the exact menu she had developed, the staffing model, the pricing philosophy, the specific element of the culture she had been building toward for 2 years. He listened. He asked 2 questions, both specific, both the kind of questions that showed he had heard everything. The staffing model, he said. You want to pay above market rate and reduce hours. Yes, she said. That reduces your margin in year 1 significantly, he said. Yes, she said. And you have calculated that the retention this produces makes it worthwhile by year 3, he said. By year 2, she said, because the training cost of replacing staff with the specific culture I am building is very high. If you keep people, you keep the culture. If you keep the culture, you keep the standard. He looked at her. That is exactly right, he said. I know, she said. You have been thinking about this for a long time, he said. 2 years, she said. Longer, really. Since my first day in this restaurant when I understood what the wrong version looked like. He was quiet. I want to invest, he said. She looked at him. In the cafe, he said. Not to run it, not to have a management role, as an investor who believes in the vision, if you are open to it. She was very still. Why, she said. Because the vision is correct, he said. And because you are the right person to execute it. And because I have a grandfather who told me that the way to know if a business is going to work is to look at whether the person building it understands what the business actually is. You understand what your business actually is. She looked at him for a long time. I will think about it, she said. Of course, he said. She stood up. She was at the door. Leo, she said. Yes, he said. You said you wanted me to know what you are before you know what you have, she said. Yes, he said. I know what you are, she said. I have known since the 3rd Thursday. What am I, he said. She looked at him. You are the person who said thank you when I signed the receipt, she said. Everything else is additional information. She left. He sat in the office for a while longer. He looked at the ledger. He looked at the delivery jacket which was hanging on the hook on the back of the office door. He had taken it off when he started reviewing the accounts and had put it there without thinking about it. It was still damp. It would need to be cleaned. He did not throw it away. He put it on the hook and left it there. When they renovated the office the following spring, new paint, different shelving, he had a proper hook installed on the wall to the right of the desk. The jacket went there, not framed, not displayed, just there, where he could see it when he looked up from the desk. The staff understood what it was there for. Ada was formally appointed floor manager 3 weeks after Leo took ownership. She proved to be exactly what Sarah had indicated, excellent, with the specific combination of warmth and authority that the front of house required, and that had been suppressed by the previous management culture. Marco stayed. This surprised people who expected a dramatic departure and who did not fully understand the specific dynamic of someone who had been trained by a great teacher and who had, in a single evening, been returned to the memory of what the training was for. He was not warm. He was not simple. He was complicated in the way of someone managing the knowledge of what they had done and the decision to keep going anyway. He was also an extraordinary chef. Leo learned from him, specifically, deliberately, with the same quality of attention he had given his grandfather on Saturday mornings. He came to the kitchen every morning an hour before service and worked alongside whoever was there. He did not perform this. He learned. He also went to Paris. Not immediately, after a year in the restaurant, when he understood it well enough to go and come back. Papa Leo's money. Supplemented by the restaurant's first year of profit under the new management, funded 6 months at the school he had been accepted to. He came back with technique he had not had, and with a clarity about what the restaurant was that the 6 months away, the specific perspective of distance, had sharpened. Papa Leo died in January of the year. Leo came back from Paris. He died in his apartment, in his kitchen, in the specific way that very old people who have been healthy their whole lives sometimes die, quietly, without drama, in the middle of an ordinary morning. Leo was on a plane from Paris. He landed and went directly to the apartment. He sat in the kitchen for an hour before he called anyone. He sat at the table where they had cooked every Saturday morning for 14 years. He thought about the hands. He thought about the first time Papa Leo had let him hold a knife properly, the specific adjustment of the grip, the way the blade should feel like an extension of the hand rather than an instrument held by it. He thought about the letter. He thought about the last phone call from the restaurant on the night of the ownership transfer and the 4 words that ended the call: "Go back to the dining room." He called Emeka Obi. Then he called Sarah. She came. She sat with him in the kitchen. She did not fill the silence. She understood from 8 months of knowing him that some silences needed to stay as what they were. After a while he said, "The Saturday mornings." "Tell me," she said. He told her. He told her everything. Not the business, the mornings, the food, the specific things Papa Leo had said while they cooked, the way he corrected without criticism, which was the thing that Leo had absorbed so completely that he had reproduced it in the kitchen without knowing he was doing it until a junior cook pointed it out months later. She listened. She remembered it. The cafe opened 7 months later. In a quiet neighborhood on the mainland. The color she had chosen, the menu she had developed, the staff model she had built, with the above-market wages and the reduced hours and the specific culture of a place where the people who worked there knew they mattered. It was full in the first month. Not because of Leo's investment, because of what it was. Leo went on the first Saturday morning. He sat at a corner table. He ordered coffee and the food she had been planning for 2 years. He ate slowly. She came to the table when the morning rush had quieted. "Well," she said. "The base of the stew," he said, "the spice combination, there is something in the back note that I cannot identify." She looked at him. "It is my grandmother's recipe," she said. "I have never told anyone what is in it." "It is extraordinary," he said. She sat down across from him. "Saturday mornings," she said. He looked at her. "I am available on Saturday mornings," she said. "This one and the ones after, if you are interested in the company." He looked at her. "I am very interested in the company," he said. She picked up her coffee. "I know," she said. "I have been watching you be interested for 2 years." He looked at her across the cafe table. He thought, "This is what my grandfather meant." He thought, "Character built in the shadows." He thought, "I have been building something for 2 years without knowing I was building it, and it has become exactly the right thing." He picked up his coffee. "The back note in the stew," he said. "Is that information available?" She looked at him. "Saturday mornings," she said, "we will see." Leo Steiner kept his delivery jacket on a hook in his office. Not as a display, not as a statement about who he had been, as a reminder, specifically as the reminder that the person he had been when he was wearing that jacket soaked from the rain, standing at a marble delivery entrance, being told by the man who had stolen his grandfather's recipes that people like him did not belong in places like this. That person had been exactly who he was. Not less, not a temporary version, not someone waiting to become something else. Exactly who he was. And who he was included the years of delivery routes and the Thursday afternoons and the Saturday morning kitchen, and a grandfather who built something real over 80 years, and who kept a ledger because he understood that real things should be documented and protected. The lesson of this story is not that you should be kind to delivery riders because they might own your restaurant. That lesson is too small. The lesson is what Papa Leo taught with 50 years of cooking and one final letter. Food is for people. A business is for people. A kitchen, an office, a company, a cafe, these are places where people spend significant portions of their lives, and the person running those places decides what those portions of life feel like. Marco had excellent technique and a stolen philosophy. He could cook anything. He had forgotten that cooking was for the people who ate it and the people who made it. He had kept the skill and lost the point. Leo remembered the point. Not because he was naturally better than Marco, because he had been on the other side of the service entrance, because he had delivered food to people who did not look at his face, because he had stood in rain on marble floors and been told that people like him had a different category of belonging. He remembered all of it, and he used the memory correctly. Not for bitterness, not for a dramatic reversal, for the specific practical application of someone who has learned something from the inside of an experience and who applies the learning in the work that follows. He ran the kitchen the way his grandfather had built it. He learned from the people in it. He credited what should be credited. He put the jacket on the hook where he could see it. And on Saturday mornings, he went to a cafe on the mainland and ate food that had a back note he could not identify, and had coffee with the person who knew what was in it. He was still learning. That was the whole point. You are always still learning. The moment you think you are done is the moment you stop being any use to anyone. Keep learning, keep showing up, keep looking at the face of the person who is handing you something. They might own the place, but more importantly, they are a person. That is always the point. This has been Tribal Tales Hub. If this story stayed with you, if the jacket on the hook and the Saturday mornings and the back note in the stew landed the way they were supposed to, like this video. One click. It tells us to keep coming back with stories like this one. Subscribe to Tribal Tales Hub. Every week a new story. Hit that bell so you are there when it arrives. Comment below. Tell us, have you ever been underestimated because of your job or your appearance? What happened? We want to hear it. We read everything. Share this story. Send it to someone who needs the reminder that who you are in the delivery jacket is who you actually are. The rest is just additional information. This has been Tribal Tales Hub. We will see you in the next one.